How does Alessio? Hope you're well. In this video, we're going to ask a very important question about Bitcoin. It's a question that I have not seen anybody ask so far, but let's try and answer it in this particular video about Bitcoin. You see, guys, at the moment, there's a lot of articles and videos being made about this triangle pattern, this triangular formation is happening on Bitcoin, which I'm sure you've noticed so far. And there's a lot of speculations happening as to which direction of this triangular formation Bitcoin could break out. Some people are saying, there's a lot of people actually are saying that's going to be an upside breakout. Now, we have already done a video about this as to what potentially could happen if there's an upside breakout. But what if the opposite happens? And what if there's a downside breakout? So what happens if Bitcoin breaks to the downside of this triangular formation or this trend line pattern? And what happens if Bitcoin comes down to this important support level, which we've touched many times before, by the 9,300 level? You can see how many times we've come and tested this level now. At least 3 times so far. So the question is, what could potentially happen if Bitcoin actually comes back down again to test this key level at the 9,300 level here? Now, if you've been watching my previous videos, you probably know the answer to this question by now, but I'm going to go through it much more detail in this particular video. You see, guys, one of the most important rules in chart analysis is this, that the more times price comes down to test a key level, as you can see here on Bitcoin, it's by the 9,300 level. The more times price comes down to test the key level, the more likely it is that eventually it's going to break it. So if Bitcoin does come down, and again, it's an if Bitcoin does come down to test this support level at 9,300, I think there's a very high probability that one of 2 things could potentially happen. The first possibility, or the first probability, is this. If Bitcoin does come down to test this level, that'll be the 4th time Bitcoin is coming down here to test this key level. And there's a very high probability Bitcoin actually could suddenly break this level and then overshoot down into the 8,000, maybe even to the 7,000 level range. Okay, that's the first scenario. The second scenario is this. I'm going to draw this in blue. The second scenario is it might come down here to test the 9,300 level again and then bounce. And then at this point, everyone is saying, aha, there you go. Now we're going higher. And then suddenly Bitcoin reverses and then breaks it. This would be the 4th, maybe 5th time that Bitcoin would then be testing this level here. And then a massive potential drop here. Again, brace for impact if Bitcoin does come down to this level for the 4th or 5th time. And I think we could overshoot the mark, going to the 7,000, maybe even into the 8,000 to the lower 7,000s here. Now, the fact is, I'm sure many of you know the reason behind this. I've mentioned this many times before in my previous videos. So take a look at this. This is a chart from last year of Bitcoin. Last year, Bitcoin came and tested this level by the 6,000 to 6,100 level many times. Take a look. In fact, notice once, bounced, twice, bounced, 3, bounced, 4, bounced, then came again. Actually, you might count this as a 5th, maybe, 5th, bounced, 6, bounced, and then the 7th time, boom, it broke it and then went significantly lower. All right, guys. Now, if you want to know the reason behind this, the logic behind this, my good friend Charlie, who actually was the person who taught this to me, he explains this really well. So listen to what Charlie says as to the reason behind this, and we'll come back and I'll give you one more important thing I want to say about Bitcoin.
In simplistic terms, and then I'll go through the technical level terms afterwards, but in simplistic terms, I liken it to skimming a pebble across the top of a pond. So you're stood at the lakeshore and you're skimming pebbles like we all do as children, and when they first bounce on the top of the lake surface or the pond surface, they jump and then they bounce again and again, and then eventually they lose their inertia. The inertia starts to disappear, and then the pebble plops through the surface of the pond or the lake. So I always call it pebble on a pond. The more times that price comes back down to a same level, then the more likely it is going to break. So what is actually happening in reality behind that is that traders around the world are seeing that same pattern in a way, and you might have people who have been in long positions start to panic. They're thinking, oh no, it's coming back down to a certain level again, maybe I should just come out of my long positions. So you're getting people who have been in long positions starting to panic out. So that obviously creates selling because they're selling out of their long positions. And then you're also getting people who have been on the side of that market, maybe not have been even in the market, who are looking to sell. And they're seeing that very pattern of subsequent bounces and thinking, okay, maybe this time it's going to break down. I'm going to start selling short. And again, that's adding pressure into whatever the market is. So if you see, I always like to see 4 bounces, about 4 in relative succession. If we're looking at daily charts, that could be over a period of months. But about 4 bounces or so, and then I start thinking, okay, this thing might want to break.
All right, guys, so as you heard there from Charlie, Charlie says that if there are 4 bounces, I mean, I personally think that 3 bounces is good enough, but Charlie thinks if there's a 4th bounce, then it becomes, far more potent, far more probable that we're going to break that level. So if Bitcoin does come down to test that 9,300 level and maybe bounces again, then boom, very likely, again, brace for impact. We're potentially going to go lower, potentially into the 8,000, maybe even overshoot to the 7,000 range. Why? The reason is because of this. Take a look. You'll see many times before, in the past, Bitcoin has a habit of overshooting the mark. So for example, in 2016, when Bitcoin broke key levels, it overshot. You can see Bitcoin has a habit of overshooting, making these nasty spikes lower, and then bouncing back up again. So I expect something very similar potentially might happen on Bitcoin here. And by the way, in case some of you are probably thinking, oh, Alessio is being bearish again, wrong. Because of this. You see, guys, I've mentioned this before. What could happen is something called a wild card scenario. In other words, Bitcoin may pull out a sort of a wild card trick or some kind of a joker card out of nowhere. So in other words, what Bitcoin might do is if, let's say we do break to the downside, and let's say we do overshoot to, let's say, the 8,000 or the 7,000 range. What might happen is a scenario, again, I've mentioned this before, where Bitcoin, again, drops into these key levels, again, 8,000 to the 7,000, maybe even potentially lower range, then completes this wave 2 correction, the wave 2 correction of after wave 1. In other words, completes a C wave of wave 2. And by the way, at this point, let me just say this, at this point, a lot of people are going to be very negative and very bearish on Bitcoin. Almost everyone will be unanimous, and there will be articles, there'll be thousands of articles everywhere, and YouTube videos. Oh, it's over for Bitcoin. Bitcoin is finished. It's done. And guys, just when everyone thinks that Bitcoin is finished, wrong, because actually Bitcoin might be completing the wave 2, the C wave of wave 2, and then start the massive wave 3 move higher. Okay? In other words, if I just remove everything from the chart, that is a potential wild card scenario that might play out on Bitcoin in the weeks or maybe months ahead. And by the way, how cool would that be? How awesome would it be that this might happen at the same time when that movie is coming out? As I'm sure you know, that great movie Joker, which I'm looking forward to seeing, by the way. I've seen the trailer and that video is fantastic. So how great and awesome would it be at the same time when the movie Joker is coming out, that the wild card or Joker scenario might play out, on Bitcoin as well. Anyway, guys, hope this video helps. By the way, let me just mention that there's a very important webinar I'm doing this Thursday on 19th of September, 8 p.m. UK time, 3 p.m. Eastern time. So guys, don't miss it, whatever you do. In this particular webinar, this is a live and free webinar, I'm going to discuss the important exit strategies, because a lot of people are only focused on entry methods, but they're completely forgetting the important exit methods. So joining me in this webinar, guys, this Thursday, go to this link you see here, leadingtrader.com/exit strategy, register on the page, and I'll see you guys this Thursday. Thanks very much. Bye for now.